The message came to Earth on a quiet morning. It was weak and broken, but clear enough to understand. Lieutenant Joe Wilson was at his desk when it arrived. "This is Grand Ambassador Zilith of the Galactic Consortium. Our colonies are under attack. The Vraxian Armada is destroying everything. We try to talk peace, but they do not listen. Our shields cannot stop their weapons. If anyone hears this, please help us." Joe checked the signal twice. It was real. He called his boss, Admiral Mary Baker, right away. Within an hour, all the top Earth military leaders gathered in a large room. The room went quiet as they played the message again. "The Galactic Consortium has never talked to us before," said Admiral Baker, looking serious. "They called Earth a death world and told everyone to stay away from our solar system 50 years ago. They thought we were too violent," said General Sam Clark. "They were afraid of us. Now they want our help." Dr. Kate Miller, who studied alien life, spoke up. "The Vraxians must be worse than us. From what we know, they take over planets, steal all resources, and make slaves of the people." Admiral Baker stood up and looked at everyone in the room. "It doesn't matter if they ignored us before. Someone needs help, and we can give it. Get the 7th Fleet ready. It's time to show the galaxy what humans can do." 2 days later, 10 large ships and 15 smaller ones prepared to leave Earth. Captain Greg Foster watched from the bridge of the main ship, the HFY Valor. "All ships report ready, Captain," said his second-in-command, Linda Howard. "Good," said Greg. "This is our first real contact with the galaxy. We need to make it count." Admiral Baker's face appeared on the main screen. "Remember your mission, Captain. First, help the Consortium people. Second, stop the Vraxian attack. Third, show the galaxy that humans are worth knowing." "Yes, Admiral," Greg replied. "We won't let you down." As the fleet prepared to jump to faster than light speed, Greg thought about what they might find. The Consortium had technologies Earth could only dream of, but they were losing a war. What did that say about these Vraxians? "Captain, all ships are in position," Linda reported. "Ready to jump on your command." Greg nodded and took a deep breath. "This is Captain Foster to all ships. The people who once feared us now need our help. They're about to learn why Earth creatures are respected and feared. We evolved on the hardest world in known space. We survived ice ages, megavolcanoes, and our own nuclear wars. If these Vraxians want to know what a real fight is, we'll show them." He paused and looked at his crew. They were ready. They were Earth's finest. "All ships, prepare to jump. Let's go make some new friends. And maybe some new enemies too." The stars stretched into lines as the fleet launched into hyperspace. Behind them, Earth continued its quiet spin around the sun, unaware that its status in the galaxy was about to change forever. In the darkness between stars, 27 ships from a world the galaxy had feared for decades raced to answer a call for help. The Deathworlders were coming. The human fleet appeared at the edge of the Andromeda sector after 3 days of travel. Captain Greg Foster stood on the bridge of the HFY Valor, watching the main screen with narrow eyes. "My God," whispered Linda Howard beside him. "It's worse than we thought." The scene before them was one of destruction. 3 planets burned with red fire that could be seen even from space. Broken pieces of space stations floated everywhere. In the middle of it all, about 50 Consortium ships were in a tight circle, surrounded by larger Vraxian warships. "Scan the area," Greg ordered. "How many enemy ships?" "I count 32 Vraxian warships, Captain," said Officer Ben Jones from his station. "They have the Consortium fleet trapped. The alien ships are damaged, but still fighting." Greg nodded. "Open a channel to the Consortium ships. Let them know we're here." After a few moments, the screen changed to show an alien face. The creature had blue skin, 4 eyes, and no visible nose. When it saw Greg, all 4 eyes opened wide in shock. You are humans. From Earth," the alien asked in a shaky voice. "This is Captain Greg Foster of the United Earth Defense Fleet," Greg said clearly. "We received your call for help. We're here to answer it. But, your species, we thought you were too dangerous to." Alarm suddenly rang through the bridge. Ben shouted, "Captain, 3 Vraxian ships are breaking away from their fleet and coming toward us." On the screen, the consortium alien looked afraid. "Those are their hunter ships. You must run. Their weapons will cut through your—" "Don't worry about us," Greg interrupted with a small smile. "We may not have your advanced technology, but we have something better." He turned to Linda. "Tell all ships to take attack position Delta. Let's show them how Earth fights." The human ships spread out in a wide fan shape. The 3 Vraxian ships came straight at them, firing bright yellow energy beams. "They're using standard attack patterns," Ben reported, "just like the data suggested. They always attack the same way." "That's their weakness," Greg said. "All ships, execute hammer and anvil maneuver." The human fleet suddenly split into 2 groups. One group pretended to retreat while the other held position. The Vraxian ships chased the retreating group, falling right into the trap. As the Vraxians passed between the 2 human groups, both opened fire from all sides. The Earth ships had fewer energy weapons, but made up for it with thousands of small guided missiles that the Vraxians couldn't track. On the consortium command ship, Ambassador Zillith watched with his mouth open. "Impossible," he said. "Those human ships are less advanced than ours by at least 100 years. How are they fighting so effectively?" "Look at how they move," said his science officer. "They don't fight like we do. They use tricks and traps. They change their plans in the middle of battle." One human ship took a direct hit from a Vraxian beam, but kept fighting. Inside, the crew sealed damaged areas and continued to work, even as fires burned in some sections. "Their ships are designed to take damage," the science officer continued. "And their crews, they don't give up." Ambassador Zillith watched as one of the Vraxian ships exploded. The other 2 turned to retreat, but the human ships chased them, firing continuously. "We may have made a mistake," Zillith said quietly. "We feared the humans because they evolved on a dangerous world. We never considered that this might make them the greatest allies we could have." On the Valor, Greg opened the channel to the consortium again. "This was just the beginning. Now, let's plan how to free your people." The main Vraxian fleet changed course after their 3 ships were defeated. All 29 remaining warships now moved toward the human fleet. "They're coming at us with everything," Linda said, looking at the tactical display. The red dots representing enemy ships formed a perfect arrow shape. Captain Greg nodded. "They're angry." "Good. Angry enemies make mistakes." Ambassador Zillith's face appeared on the screen again. "Captain Foster, you must retreat. You cannot face their main fleet. Even our best ships couldn't stop them. With respect, Ambassador, you haven't seen what humans can do yet." Greg turned to his communications officer. "Connect me to all Earth ships." When the link was ready, Greg spoke clearly. "This is Captain Foster. The enemy thinks we fight like the consortium. They expect us to form a defensive line and try to outlast them. We're not going to do that." He smiled. "We're going to use planned chaos." The human ships suddenly broke formation. Instead of staying together, they scattered in different directions. From the Vraxian perspective, it looked like the humans were panicking. The Vraxian commander, a tall being named Kraz, laughed at the sight. "Look at them run. These humans are no better than the consortium. Split our forces. Hunt them down one by one." The Vraxian fleet divided into smaller groups, each chasing the human ship. This was exactly what Greg wanted. "They took the bait," Linda said. "All Vraxian groups are committed to pursuit." Greg nodded. Now, all across the battlefield, human ships suddenly changed tactics. The UES Valor, pursued by 3 Vraxian cruisers, cut its engines and spun around. While the surprised Vraxians tried to adjust, the Valor fired all weapons directly at the lid ship. Similar scenes played out everywhere. Human ships used moves that seemed crazy, flying directly at enemy vessels, making tight turns that stressed their hulls, even letting enemies get close before revealing hidden weapons. On the Vraxian command ship, Kraz was no longer laughing. What is happening? These humans fight like madmen. His second-in-command checked the battle data. We've lost 7 ships already. Their tactics make no sense. They don't follow any pattern we've seen before. Kraz slammed his fist down. They must have some plan. Find it. But there was no single plan to find. Each human captain made decisions based on their situation, adapting constantly. The Vraxians, used to enemies who followed predictable battle doctrines, couldn't adjust. From the consortium flagship, Ambassador Zilith watched in amazement. "I don't understand," he said to his tactical officer. "The humans are outnumbered and outgunned. How are they winning?" The tactical officer studied the battle displays. "It's their unpredictability. See how that ship just flew between 2 of our attackers, making them fire at each other. No sane species would attempt such a maneuver. Because it risks the crew's lives," Zilith said slowly. "Exactly. But these humans, they take those risks. And their crews are incredibly good at handling damaged ships." The tactical officer pointed to a human vessel that was burning from one end but still fighting. "That ship should have surrendered already, but they've sealed off the damaged sections and keep fighting with what they have left." After 3 hours of battle, the Vraxians had lost 13 ships. The human fleet had lost only 2, with several others damaged. Kraz finally gave the order to pull back. "Regroup at the colony world. We need to rethink our approach to these Deathworlders." On the UES Valor, Greg allowed himself a small moment of satisfaction. Phase 1 complete. Now comes the hard part. We need to free those colony worlds. While the space battle ended, a new mission began. 5 human transport ships headed toward Nebulon Prime, the largest consortium colony under Vraxian control. Major Steve Harris led the ground team of 60 soldiers. They sat in the main hold of their transport ship, checking weapons and armor. "Listen up," Steve said to his team. "This isn't like any fight we've had before. We're about to land on an alien world to fight other aliens. But remember your training. The basics don't change." Private Dana Cooper raised her hand. "Sir, what do we know about the Vraxians on the ground?" "They're bigger than us. Stronger too. Their skin is naturally armored," Steve replied. "But they're slow, and they don't adapt well to surprises." The ship shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the small windows, the soldiers could see a city below them. Many buildings were damaged or burning. "Our job is to secure the main city center and protect the consortium civilians," Steve continued. "Captain Foster says there are about 300 Vraxian soldiers in the area." Sergeant Jeff Burns whistled. "That's 5 to 1 against us." Steve nodded. "Yes, almost fair odds." The team laughed, breaking the tension. The ship landed with a bump in what looked like a park area. The doors opened, and the human soldiers moved out quickly, taking positions around the landing zone. Steve was surprised to see several consortium aliens watching them from nearby buildings. The blue-skinned creatures looked thin and scared. "Set up a perimeter," Steve ordered. "Cooper, get the medical station ready. Burns, take a team and scout the area." A tall consortium alien approached Steve carefully. "You are the humans, the ones helping our ships." "Yes. I'm Major Harris. We're here to remove the Vraxians from your city." The alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "There are many Vraxians. They have taken over the government building and the power station. They kill anyone who resists." "Not anymore," Steve said. "Show me where they are." Within an hour, the humans had a complete map of Vraxian positions. Unlike the consortium people, who had tried to fight the Vraxians in open battles, Steve had a different plan. "We'll split into 6 teams of 10, he told his officers. "Small, fast-moving groups. Hit and run tactics. The Vraxians want to fight a traditional battle with clear front lines. We won't give them that. That night, the human soldiers moved through the darkened city. Team 1, led by Steve himself, approached the power station. 4 large fractions guarded the entrance. Cooper, Burns, go around back, Steve whispered. Johnson with me. Distraction time. Steve and Private Johnson walked openly toward the front entrance. The fractions immediately raised their weapons. Stop right there, one shouted in a deep voice. Steve held up his hands. We're just looking for our friends. Tall guys, bad attitude. The confused fractions stepped forward, just as Cooper and Burns attacked from behind. Within seconds, all 4 guards were unconscious. Inside, quick, Steve ordered. Similar scenes play out across the city. The human teams never attacked where expected. They used the city's layout, moving through buildings and underground passages. When the Vraxians sent large forces to capture them, the humans were already gone, attacking somewhere else. On the 3rd day, the Vraxian ground commander, Drac, called an emergency meeting. These humans fight like no species we've ever faced. They don't sleep. They appear and disappear like ghosts. My soldiers are afraid to patrol at night. How many are there? His lieutenant asked. We don't know. Reports say anywhere from 50 to 500. Drac slammed his fist on the table. They're everywhere and nowhere. Outside, Steve and his team of 60 smiled as they prepared for another night of making the Vraxians very, very nervous. While soldiers fought on Nebulon Prime, another important meeting happened on the main consortium medical ship. Dr. Amy Roberts, the human medical chief, walked through the large hospital area, looking at the many injured aliens. You have so many wounded, she said to Dr. Zyle, the consortium's head doctor. How can we help? Dr. Zill's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. You want to help our injured, but our biology is so different from yours. Different, yes, but life is life, Amy replied. She opened her medical kit. Let me show you some things we've brought. For the next few hours, Amy and her team of 10 human doctors worked alongside the consortium medical staff. At first, the alien doctors were nervous about human methods, but soon they saw the results. This healing gel works on your people better than on humans, Amy explained as she treated a badly burned consortium child. It was made for our soldiers who get plasma burns, but it seems to help your skin even more. Dr. Zill watched in amazement. The wound is already closing. How is this possible? Humans heal fast, Amy said. We had to develop good medicines to help that process. When you live on a world as dangerous as Earth, quick healing means survival. In another part of the ship, human engineer Pete Johnson was helping fix damaged systems. The consortium engineers were shocked by his approach. You can't connect those 2 systems that way, said a consortium engineer named Trill. It's not in the manual. Pete laughed as he finished connecting the wires. Manuals are nice when you have time, but when things are breaking, you improvise. He flipped a switch, and the dead system came back to life. See, it works. But how did you know it would work? Trill asked. I didn't for sure, but I understood the basic principles. On Earth, we often have to fix things with whatever is available. By the end of the day, the human medical and engineering teams had made a big difference. The medical ship was running better, and many injured aliens were healing faster than expected. Dr. Zill called for a meeting with Amy and Ambassador Zillith. These humans are remarkable, Dr. Zyle said. Their medical knowledge is different from ours, but very effective. And they adapt so quickly to treating our people. Ambassador Zillith nodded. Their engineers are the same. They find solutions we would never consider. Amy smiled. It's how we survive on Earth. Our planet has more different environments than most worlds. Desert, Arctic, jungle, ocean. We live in all of them. We had to learn to adapt. But your technology is less advanced than ours, Ambassador Zillith said. Yet you accomplish so much with it. That's because we don't just rely on technology, Amy explained. We expect it to fail sometimes. So we planned for that. We have backups for our backups. Later, Amy joined Pete in the ship's dining area. They watched as consortium staff studied the human equipment with great interest. "They're starting to understand us," Pete said quietly. "For years, they thought we were just violent animals because we evolved on a harsh world." Amy nodded. "They're seeing the full picture now. Yes, Earth made us tough and sometimes aggressive. But it also made us creative, adaptable, and determined. And it taught us something they never learned in their safer worlds." Pete added, "What's that?" "That when things look hopeless, you don't give up. You find another way." Pete looked around at the alien ship. "That's our real strength. Not our weapons or our physiology. It's our refusal to accept defeat." Across the room, Ambassador Zillith watched the humans with new respect in his 4 eyes. These Deathworlders were changing everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. 2 weeks after the humans arrived, the war had changed completely. The Vraxians still had more ships and soldiers, but they were losing ground everywhere. On the UES Valor, Captain Greg Foster met with Ambassador Zillith and Major Steve Harris, who had returned from Nebulon Prime. "The city is secure," Steve reported. "The Vraxians still hold the northern district, but they're cut off from supplies." "Similar reports from the other colonies," Greg said, pointing to a map. "The Vraxians are pulling back to their main base on Axis 4. Ambassador Zillith's 4 eyes showed his surprise. "This is unprecedented. The Vraxians never retreat. Their military code forbids it." "Well, they're retreating now," Steve said with a small smile. "But they're not giving up. They're gathering for a big attack." Greg nodded. "Our scouts report they have over 50 ships at Axis 4. They're planning something big." The 3 leaders studied the map in silence. Finally, Ambassador Zillith spoke. "Even with your amazing tactics, Captain Foster, we cannot win a direct battle against so many ships." "You're right," Greg agreed. "So we won't fight a direct battle." He pressed a button, and the map zoomed in on a large ship near Axis 4. "This is the Vraxian command ship. Our intelligence says their Supreme Commander Kraz is on board. In Vraxian culture, the commander is everything. The soldiers follow him absolutely." "What are you suggesting?" Zillith asked. Greg smiled. "We're going to capture Commander Kraz." The plan was dangerous but simple. While the main fleet distracted the Vraxians, a small, fast ship would slip through their defenses. A team of human special forces would board the command ship and capture Kraz. Lieutenant Maria Diaz would lead the mission. Her team of 6 sat in the small ship as it prepared to launch from the Valor. "Remember," Maria told her team, "we need Kraz alive. The Vraxians must see their leader captured, not killed." "What if he resists?" asked Sergeant John Miller. "He will," Maria said, "but we'll be ready." The mission launched the next day. As the human and consortium fleet engaged the Vraxians in a large battle, Maria's small ship slipped past the fighting. Using special technology that hid them from sensors, they approached the massive Vraxian command ship. "They don't see us," whispered John, watching the radar. "Their attention is on the main battle." Maria nodded. "Prepare to board near their command center." The small ship attached itself to the hull of the Vraxian vessel. Using cutting tools, the humans made an entrance and moved inside. 6 minutes until they detect the breach," Maria said, checking her watch. "Move fast." The team moved through the Vraxian ship, avoiding patrols when possible and quickly subduing any enemies they couldn't avoid. They reached the command center faster than expected. "Ready?" Maria asked. Her team nodded. "Go." They burst into the command center, surprising the Vraxians inside. Several aliens reached for weapons, but the humans were faster. Using stun weapons, they knocked out most of the Vraxian officers. Commander Kraz stood at the center of the room, much taller than the humans had expected. Nearly 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin and eyes that burned with anger. "Humans," he growled. "You dare." "Commander Kraz," Maria said calmly, You are now our prisoner. Order your fleet to stand down. Kraz laughed. I will never surrender to lesser beings. We hoped you'd say that, Maria replied. Then she did something unexpected. She removed her helmet, showing her face. Look at me, Commander. Look at what a human really is. Kraz stared at her, confused by this strange action. We came from a world that tried to kill us every day, Maria continued. Everything on Earth is deadly. The animals, the weather, even the ground itself sometimes. We survived it all. She stepped closer to the much larger alien. You can fight us and lose, or you can end this now and save your people. Something in her words, or perhaps the steady look in her eyes, reached Kraz. For the first time in his life, the Vraxian commander recognized a force he could not defeat. Open the channel to my fleet, he said finally. The war was over. 1 month after the first distress call, something historic happened. A large consortium ship landed on Earth, the first official alien visit ever allowed. The landing took place in a field outside New York City, with hundreds of people watching. President Laura Wilson stood with her advisors as the ship's doors opened. Ambassador Zillith led a group of 10 consortium officials down the ramp. Their blue skin and 4 eyes drew gasps from the human crowd. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador, President Wilson said, extending her hand in greeting. Zillith looked at her hand for a moment, then carefully shook it. Thank you, President Wilson. This is a great honor for us. The meeting moved to the United Nations building. Leaders from Earth and the consortium sat around a large table. Captain Greg Foster and Major Steve Harris were there too, along with Dr. Amy Roberts. President Wilson spoke first. For 50 years, humanity has tried to join the galactic community. For 50 years, we were kept away. You called our world a death world, and said we were too dangerous. Ambassador Zillith lowered his eyes. We were wrong, President Wilson. We judged your species by your world, not by your hearts. Earth is harsh, Greg added. It made us tough, but it also taught us to help each other survive. The consortium's chief elder, a very old blue alien, nodded slowly. When we needed help most, you came. Despite how we treated you, you risked your lives for us. That's what humans do, Steve said simply. For the next few hours, the two groups discussed a new relationship. The consortium offered to share their advanced technology. Earth offered to help train consortium defense forces. We would like to create a new military unit, Ambassador Zillith suggested. The Galactic Defense Force, with humans in key positions. President Wilson smiled. We would be honored. Later that day, a public ceremony was held in Central Park. Thousands of humans gathered to witness the signing of the first treaty between Earth and the Galactic Consortium. As President Wilson and Ambassador Zillith signed the document, Greg stood with Amy and Steve at the edge of the stage. Everything changes today, Amy said quietly. Humans will travel to the stars freely now. Steve nodded, and the galaxy will never be the same. After the ceremony, Ambassador Zillith found Greg watching the sunset over the city. Your world has beautiful colors, the ambassador said. Dangerous beauty. Greg smiled. That's Earth for you. Beautiful and dangerous at the same time. We feared that combination, Zillith admitted. We thought a species from such a world would be only violent and aggressive. We can be those things, Greg said honestly. But Earth taught us something else too. It taught us to care for each other. When your world tries to kill you every day, you learn the value of helping others. Zillith was quiet for a moment. The Vraxians have asked for peace talks. They never do that. But after seeing humans fight, they decided that peace was better. They're smart, Greg laughed. But we're not just good at fighting. We're good at making peace too. I begin to see that, the ambassador said. You know, across the galaxy, people used to whisper about Deathworlders with fear. That word meant something terrible. And now it means something else. It means those who never give up, those who help when asked, Those who find a way when others see none. Zilith looked at Greg with all four eyes. It has become a name of respect. As night fell over Earth, news of the treaty spread to every corner of the planet. Humans looked up at the stars with new eyes, knowing they were no longer alone. And across the galaxy, the story spread of how the feared Deathworlders had come when called, fought when needed, and made peace when possible. The quarantine of Earth was officially ended, and a new age began. Sometimes, the ambassador thought, the most dangerous worlds create the most valuable friends.